There is a mathematical equation to luck. Attention plus intention equals coincidence. Use your capabilities, find the synergistic and supplementary capabilities to where you want to be, and you could take advantage of great opportunity that exists with great change.
This week's guest on the Escape Your Limits podcast is the co-founder of Sports One Marketing, a marketing agency that he co-founded with the Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon. As an executive producer and main judge of the Entrepreneur's Elevator Pitch, he provides insights for thousands of businesses each year to help them focus on their company growth. His entrepreneurial and philanthropic spirit rewarded him with recognition as one of Marshall Goldsmith's top 100 business coaches in the world, chairman of the Unstoppable Foundation, and Variety Magazine's Sports Humanitarian of the Year. Within his top 5 podcast series, The Playbook, he depicts the key principles to expanding your own potential in both business and in life. The interview is full of simple and practical advice that has had my head spinning ever since. So please enjoy this week's Escape Your Limits podcast with Mr. David Meltzer. Well, David, thank you so much for agreeing to join us on the Escape Your Limits podcast. I know you've got a very limited time, and I've got a ton of questions to ask. So if it's okay for you, I'm gonna go straight into it, and we'll make the most of the sort of 30 minutes or so that we've got together today.
I prefer that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. So first thing I'd like to ask, there's a lot of people at the moment that may have lost their jobs, they may have lost their businesses, or maybe their businesses are going through a huge amount of turmoil at the moment. So it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. What I'd like to ask you is, what was it like to wake up the day after you realized you'd lost over $100 million, a top golf course, a ski mountain, 30 houses, and a bunch of condos?
I will tell you that it was a lot easier than waking up 2 years earlier, hungover with a wife that was going to leave me because I had lost track of who I was and what I wanted to become. I actually was prepared. When I lost everything, I was much more prepared because I knew I had control of my mindset, my heart set. I had a plan of what to think, say, and do and believe. And I had one thing going for me. I had always been able to make money. I had made money 9 months out of law school, was a millionaire. So losing my money wasn't my fear. Losing my life and my wife was a far greater fear for me. And that really happened 2 years earlier when my wife told me for the first time in my life that she wasn't happy and that I was not the person that she wanted to marry or be married to, and I should take stock in who I was. And once I took stock in who I was and started living by those values and starting to build principles and strategies and consistent disciplines in my life, I actually was pretty prepared. The hardest part of losing everything, though, was the fear of losing my job, because I had been running the most notable sports agency in the world, and I felt that being a bankrupt CEO was not the best image for athletes to see. But Lee Steinberg decided that it was okay and he would keep me on. But the worst part about it, this blew my mind, I forgot to take my mom's house. The only reason I ever wanted to be rich was to buy my mom a house and a car. I forgot to take her house out of my name. So I had to go tell my mom not only that I had lost everything, but more importantly that she was going to have to move. And I, to me, thought that was going to be the end of my relationship with my mom, and maybe even the end of my mom. I thought she wouldn't be able to handle it, but as usual, I don't know what I don't know, and it ended up being one of the greatest experiences of my life, because when I told my mom in tears what had happened, without blinking, she looked at me and asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I give you some money?" And that's when I learned what true love was, what true unconditional love was, that my mom truly would give her life for me, and that everything else in my life had been a negotiation, a trade, that even the times that I gave was just to receive. And I had just witnessed someone that truly understood what true unconditional love was.
Right. So I've listened to and read a lot about you, and the statement you made about, when you did go bankrupt, you was prepared, and it sounded like you was already on a different journey, although this sort of
thing kind of happened in the middle of it. So what was that sort of turning point in your life, and how did it feel to then come up against when you were, I guess, mentally turning it around to be hit with the bankruptcy?
You know, it's a pain, and it is. You know, I say that pain is not a stop sign. A lot of people they do fold. I know one of my uncles, an uncle mentor of mine, has told me years since. It's been almost 15 years. He said, you know, a lot of guys wouldn't have made it. You know, with that, a lot of guys would have spiraled. It would have been so easy for you just to go the other direction. You know, I'm just so proud of you. And for me, it was understanding the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit enjoyment of the pursuit of my potential. Understanding 5 daily practices that I'd started to institute in my life, taking inventory of my own values, gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration, to live with the perspective of finding light, love, and lessons in everything, of forgiving myself, knowing that that pain is just an indicator, not a stop sign. It's a turn signal pushing me in a better place, a better direction to make my situation better, to understand that I'm in control of my life, that I'm accountable for everything that I attracted to myself. And I had great lessons to learn, because pain itself is just an indicator that you have lessons to learn. And, you know, those lessons will keep on coming until you learn them, and pain will stay until you learn them. So I had a completely different mindset, utilizing those values. And then the biggest change in my life was radical humility. You know, I joke around, but the 2 things that'll change your life, you learn before you're 3. One of my favorite books out there is Everything You Ever Needed to Know You Learned in Kindergarten. I now think that everything you really need to know, you learned before you were 3. And that's number 1, to be grateful. I wake up every morning and say thank you. I go to bed every night and say thank you. I pray to God for at least 10 people I can help. But the second thing beyond gratitude is to ask. You know, ever since I've been 3, people have told me, you got to say thank you. Oh, don't forget to ask. I think one of the biggest obstacles, hurdles, voids, shortages, interference that people have between them and everything else that they want in an abundant universe is they're just afraid to ask for it. They have no humility in asking for help. And if people ask me, how the hell did you lose over $100 million? I'll tell you, I didn't ask for help. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was too afraid to ask for it.
So you're, from all accounts, and you know, people who are listening can look into this, but you're a very intelligent guy. You've been to law school. You've had a number of successful businesses, and as you said yourself, you didn't really feel as though you had an issue making money, which isn't the case for most people. What would you say to some people that, you know, I would class you as being very intelligent. I wouldn't probably put myself in that same level, but I certainly wouldn't, you know, to get where you are, it's quite impressive. What would you say to people that probably don't feel as though they're naturally gifted up in here, but yet, you know, they're starting from the bottom, and they want to have this financial success that you've got, to be able to help themselves, but also to help other people, which is a big part of what you do, I believe.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I shifted that paradigm of giving to the more I receive, the more I can give. And I think the biggest transition that anyone needs to know, there's IQ, and I appreciate people that can recognize I was born genetically with a high IQ, a quantum memory, a true DNA, genetically, ancestrally. You know, my great-grandparents were extremely academic. My siblings all went to the Ivy League. So I understand IQ is a gift, but there's plenty of smart people that are broke. And please, everyone, think about it. Then there's EQ, which is emotional intelligence. And, you know, being able to utilize emotional intelligence, in fact, as a quantitative statistic, more people that are emotionally intelligent make more money than people that are academically or IQ intelligent. Now, there's also a third intelligence that will become more important in the next 10 years than ever. I call it the adaptive intelligence, because we've never seen change like this. And the technology itself is going to create even more change in a shorter amount of time. That people that have a combination of some IQ, a lot of EQ, but even more AQ, that adaptable intelligence of being able to adapt very quickly and define great opportunity within great change, will do extremely well. And let me tell you the secret to making that number one, surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. The easiest way to make a lot of money is find someone that has what you want and go find them and ask them for help. Ask them, number one, to give it to you if they can, or two, to teach you how to get it. I tell people all the time, what makes what I do so valuable is if I told you that I would pay your state and federal taxes for you every year, you would say, great, I would love that. Teach me, please pay my taxes. Well, I offer people every day of my life something more valuable than paying your state and federal taxes. I'm going to pay your dummy tax. Dummy tax is far more expensive than your state and federal taxes here in America, and it costs me hundreds of millions of dollars. Why not find someone that's already paid the dummy tax? Find someone that sits in the situation that you want to be in. Surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. Surround yourself with people that feed you and feed them. Most people surround themselves with people that bleed them, and then they waste all their food on them. And I'm not saying don't give to help others, right? I'm saying receive by surrounding yourself with those that feed you, and then you can give it all away. It doesn't matter. But a lot of people put themselves at a detriment. They don't know and understand awareness and energy and frequency, that you become the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So please spend the time with people that have what you want or in a situation that you want to be in, and you'll find yourself in that situation, not just because of what they know, but because of who they know as well.
So you've been quite smart at choosing kind of your path through life, choosing particular businesses, choosing particular industries, choosing opportunities. For someone, again, that's like, it's like, well, what am I going to do now? They're looking for that idea, that business opportunity. Is there, how do you find the right one? Are there some principles that you should look that makes a good opportunity, or is it a case of, look, just go and do anything? And how would you sort of answer someone that's not quite sure where to go next?
Yeah, that's mostly everybody. And so, number one, let me set the stage of how you should think about it. One, I'm happy where I'm at, and I want better. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm happy where I'm at, I'm where I'm supposed to be at the right way at the perfect time, but I'm going to angle to something better, and I'm going to have faith that I'm going to end up somewhere better than that. In order to do so, you need to take inventory of your capabilities. And so your capabilities are what allow you to have options and opportunities. The number one capability to take inventory of is your skills. What skills do I have? The number two is your knowledge. What knowledge do I have, and who do I know? Those are the two different things of knowledge that people look at. And then three, your desire. The most common denominator between successful people and others is that they must be what they can be. They not only are motivated to get up and get back up, to get started and get back started, but they've been able to transition that desire into inspiration, knowing that no matter what's happening external to them, that they're connected to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons and power that ever has existed. True inspiration. Motivation will get you up. Inspiration will get you there. So if you can align your capabilities, your skills, your knowledge, and your desire, if you can find your alignment with what's supplementary or synergistic to what's doing well now, you'll know which direction to angle. Or maybe you want to align or find what capabilities you have that are supplementary or synergistic to what's stable right now. Or maybe you want to take a lottery ticket and you want to align what your capabilities are synergistic or supplementary to what you think will do well in the future. And where do we find these? I use the American stock market. I find the top 50 stocks and see what industries and careers and businesses exist within the context of the top best performing stocks over the last 6 months. I then look at the stocks that are stable for the last year or 6 months. And then I go ahead and analyze stocks that have been emotionally oversold, that I think will be emotionally overbought, which is indicative of a career, an industry, or an opportunity that your skills, knowledge, and desire may just be synergistic or supplementary to, giving me a clear indication of where I should focus the magical mathematical equation of luck, which is, I'm going to pay attention to this industry, career, or job. I'm going to give it my intention, what I think, say, do, believe, and even understanding my characteristics, obsessions, addictions, my unconscious competency, as I call it. And I'm going to play and add attention plus intention to what? Equal the coincidences in my life. That's right, there is a mathematical equation to luck. Attention plus intention equals coincidence. Use your capabilities, find the synergistic and supplementary capabilities to where you want to be, and you could take advantage of great opportunity that exists with great change.
Excellent. So once you've got that idea, then it comes down to planning, or let's use the word goal setting. And it's one of the things I've asked a lot of people about, trying to understand, because there's different ways of doing it. But in terms of goal setting from your side, and what are some of the important actions, habits, rituals, and time that you allocate specifically to setting your goals and getting clear about where you want to go once you know that?
Well, a few things. Number one, I detach my emotions from my goal. I have clear set goals, and there's 5 steps in order to effectuate those goals. But the number one rule is I will not attach my emotions. So no, I'm going to be happy when I raise that money. I'm going to be happy when I make my first million. I'm going to be happy when I get married. Stop it. You're going to be happy in the consistent, persistent pursuit of making your first million. Okay, now, first you take inventory of your personal experiential giving and receiving values every day, and don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. That means you're allowed to change because everything around you changes. So you're allowed to change. So you can change your values, but you must take inventory of your values every day in order to effectuate making the best decisions aligned with your what. Your what is determined by your values. So if you set a goal, your goal is directly aligned with your values for that day. Personal non-negotiables, experiential things you want to do, the giving and receiving values of how you can be of service or value, and what you can receive for that. Number 2, ask and attract. We talked about radical humility. We want to make sure that every day, in person, on the phone, via email and media, radio, print, TV, social media, that we're asking people how we can provide service or value, and 2, how they can help us. Do you know anyone that can help us? Become an investment of others. Allow the flow of value to come through you for others. 3, most importantly, remember I talked about attention plus intention equals coincidence. That's the law of luck and the law of study. The most important thing you need to study every day is your calendar. And you need to study with 3 lenses: a lens of productivity, of how much value are you going to provide during the day; 2, a lens, a bifocal lens of accessibility. How accessible am I to others? And how am I accessing what I want? And then finally, the most important lens of gratitude. I have a lens where I am searching and seeking and finding the light, the love, and the lessons in everything that I do. And I study every day what I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep, right? Sleep, the number one habit that we all share, 8 hours a day, and also the only time that we're out of our own way. So I use that number 3 as an important time to study what I'm going to be most productive, accessible, and gracious. Number 4 is easy. Do it now. 100% of the things you do now get done. The difference between successful people and other people is successful people get stuff done. If you can't get it done, then put it in your calendar, prioritize it for tomorrow by what's most important, according to what? Your values, the inventory of your values that you took that day, personal, experiential, giving, and receiving. And then finally, most importantly, get into the practice of ending fear. And when I say a practice of ending fear, there's 4 steps to it. Number 1, identify the primary and secondary fears in your life. Personally, I've wasted hundreds of millions of dollars with a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, a need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, resentful. All of these different things have wasted millions and millions of dollars and resources and time. And so what I do is practice identifying when I'm in that ego-based consciousness, when I have primary or secondary fear, and then I institute 3 things. I know that when I'm afraid or in an ego-based consciousness, I'm on fire. So when you're on fire, you need to stop, drop, and roll. Number 1, stop. Stop accelerating in the wrong trajectory. Stop and understand, why do I feel this way? And then drop, breathe, deep through your nose, over your eyes, out through your mouth to the end of the universe, at least 6 breaths in order to get to center, to get to neutral, to be in that state of understanding and peace where you stop accelerating in the wrong direction, which allows you then what? To roll. roll into a trajectory that's aligned with the values and objectives of the day, or as you stated, your goals. So if you detach your emotions and you institute those 5 daily practice of taking inventory of values, asking and attracting, studying your calendar, doing it now, and most importantly, practicing ending fear, there is nothing that you can't do.
And in terms of the time that you specifically put into that, approximately, like, is this something you do religiously every single day? And in terms of your conscious mind, just doing that and not being on the phone and email, how much time would you say that just goes on to what you've just explained there?
So for me, I actually have 2 routines, and my daily routine is one in which also has an unwinding routine. So I always say my tomorrow starts today, and I think it's critical for people to know that I unwind at 9 o'clock. I have strict rules to make sure that all the energy is out of me and I'm not putting any false stimuli that will allow me to create interference for my next day to wake up at 4 a.m. But the most important thing to do is to have an adaptable routine. And so when you talk about how much time do I spend, I have a minimum amount of time that I spend on my non-negotiables. Everything else is coordinated by my values of what I have planned and don't have planned as a student in my calendar. But these non-negotiables are, number one, I spend a minimum of an hour a day on my health. I spend a minimum of 30 minutes with my wife, minimum of 30 minutes with my 10-year-old son. I spend a minimum of 2 minutes a day with each of my 3 teenage daughters. I asked for 5, they gave me 2. I spend a minimum of 1 minute a day. This is my favorite one that changed my life. I spend a minimum of 1 minute a day with my mom. And all I do, if anyone has a parental relationship, either as a parent or a child, all you need to do is make sure you spend a minimum of 1 minute a day telling that person 4 things. 1, that you're healthy. It's the primary concern of your parents. 2, that you're happy. 3, that you love them. And 4, that you appreciate them. If you can communicate effectively those 4 things to someone that loves you, you will establish less fear in the relationship interference, and you will really enjoy a solid, mutually beneficial relationship under unconditional love. But I spend, in my normal routine, an hour and a half researching, studying in the morning, and an hour and a half researching and studying. I spend also those amount of times every day, uninterrupted, off the grid, with my health, my family, every single day. And I spend a minimum of 10 minutes a day studying my calendar, no matter what.
Right. And are those things that, like, now you've obviously got, I guess you're the top of the game and you've got where you need to be. And that seems that's quite a commitment for studying and thinking about your goals and family. Is that something that you have done, if you sort of started from scratch again, would you still keep that balance within your life, as opposed to sort of putting it into working, for example?
Yeah, so I don't believe in work. I believe in activity I get paid for and activity I don't. But what I would do, and I call it the power of 64, I have a weighted balance. So when I talk about taking inventory of those values, obviously as I gotten older and regained my success, I can weight my giving values much more than my receiving values, or I can weight my experiential time more than I would. So what we need to do is not look for balance every day. We need to weight those values determinative upon where I am. And so if you're just starting a business and you're not married and you have no kids, your values should be weighted differently than a 52-year-old man who has multi-millions of dollars and has 4 children and all the things that I have. The difference that I would have is I believe in the power of 64. I believe in math. And so one of the things I would focus in on, and I did right out of law school. That's how I made over $1 million in 9 months coming out of law school. And I tell people all the time I did it by math. And I'll explain how, because it applies to everybody. I took a sales job instead of a legal job. Even though my mom told me the internet was going to be a fad, I learned a great lesson that just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. I went for the internet, but I had a $250,000 comp plan. And what I decided to do, that in order to hit that number, I knew that on average, people were focused about 8 hours of productivity a day. I was going to weight my balance differently because I had no kids, I had no houses. Most of the other salespeople were in their 50s and married with law degrees. I personally said, 16 hours a day is fine with me, 7 days a week. And then I made it my profession. So I created systems to be twice as efficient because I figured if I could be twice as efficient with 16 hours a day, that would be 32 hours a day of productivity 7 days a week. Then I practiced selling so I could be statistically successful. So if I could double my success, which happened through all those efficiencies and practice and consistent behavior 7 days a week, my 32 hours of productivity was 64 hours. Every single day, I was getting 8 days of productivity, 7 days a week. That means every week I had 56 days of productivity. So when I blew out my comp plan and made $1 million in 9 months, and they were giving me awards and accolades and all the bonuses, et cetera, going, "You're incredible, you blew out the comp plan." In the back of my head, I was laughing because I said, "Not really. I just did 10 years of production in 9 months." And I weighted my balance. Did I go out on a lot of dates? No. Did I have a lot of fun as far as what most 24-year-olds were having? No. And I think some of that came back to hit me as I got into my 30s because I had not balanced the weighted balance, and I focused so much on money that, when I had and was a multimillionaire, I went a little bit crazy and almost cost me my life and did cost me my fortune. The second time around, over the last 14 years, though, I've been able to effectuate great wealth by a great philosophy of not living in a world of not enough like when I was a kid. So I wasn't a victim anymore. Things don't happen to me. I wasn't a why me, why don't I have? Not as the kid that was a millionaire where I was buying things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying more things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying different things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying things to impress people I didn't even like to be happy. That's the world of just for me. I now lived in this wonderful world and I've created abundance. I call it the world of more than enough. I believe that I will receive everything through me with appreciation, gratitude, and my values to give it away to others. And I will continue to expand, create a vacuum, fill it with what I want, not with what other people want for me, and especially not with what I don't want, but expand and accelerate my life to create this vacuum, to fill it with what I want to come through me for others. Live in the world of more than enough. There is enough of everything for everyone. There is an abundant world. And that's where my mission to empower over 1 billion people came from, that I wanted to shift the perspective, the collective consciousness, to create a world of more than enough for everyone.
So for people like when you was younger, you obviously had the time to do that. A lot of people don't, and I believe from what I heard, your wife kind of came to you and said, "Look, you may have all this money, but I'm going to go unless you focus on us." How with people who have got children and family, can you use those principles and sort of optimize that time that you have got so you can have the success, and also you can ensure that when you've got the money, you still got a wife and family with you at the end of it?
Yeah, the lesson that I learned that has really helped a lot of my clients is 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. And that consistent, persistent behavior within your relationships, with anything that you want to do. And so once I started realizing the power of consistency, working within the context of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum, I could create exponential results without any zeroing effect by making sure that I did things every single day, especially the relationships with my children. And so that's why I have those minimum amount of time with my family, because 2 minutes a day is worth way more than 2 hours on a Saturday.
So I know we're coming close to the end of it. I've got two questions that I'd like to ask. Before that, for those people that would like to, we could speak the whole day, I'm sure, but for those people who would like to find out more about you, take advantage of some of this wonderful content you're putting out there, where's the best place for people to go?
I love people just to email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I do free trainings every Friday. I have content everywhere for David Meltzer. You can Google David Meltzer, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram's @David Meltzer. But if you want to email me directly, I can guide you towards anything. I give my books for free, exercises and guides for free. My trainings are for free. I always say if it's free, it's me, but now it's for you too. So let's share each other, empower each other. And please just email directly, david@dmeltzer.com.
Okay. So final two questions then, David. You talk about trusting the universe, and it sounds a little bit woo-woo for someone that's very methodical and mathematical. What do you mean by that?
So I spent most of my life trusting what surrounded me. There's a currency that we live in. The currency is called money. It's an object of energy we put into the flow to get what we want. But what I learned through my journey is there's a second currency, a universal currency called faith. And what happens is if we not only trust what surrounds us and utilize our IQ and our EQ and our AQ, but if we can just allow ourselves to be a persistent and a fierce person, but allow ourselves to trust what surrounds us. Understand that faith itself is a currency. Faith is an object of energy that you put into the flow to get what you want. It's just not utilized at this pragmatic vibration where time is a man-made construct. So if you trust the universe, if you trust what surrounds you, if you trust that there is a higher sense, a higher source, a higher self that allows you to pursue your potential, you will create more abundance for yourself. And it takes time, it's a practice. And the more that you practice, the more you'll see the results. And the more you see the results, the more you'll trust the universe. But it was just 14 years ago that I laughed when I heard about trusting the universe and meditation and all these things, and went on a diatribe how anyone that I knew that was spiritual was broke, high, sick on their mom's couch. Why would I meditate or trust the universe? It didn't seem, I made everything happen. Just give it a chance, give it a practice, utilize it as a weighted balance, start testing it, and it will grow and grow and grow. And soon, the more faith that you have, the more money you'll have as well.
Fantastic. So final question, David. Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've believed was impossible and gone on to make it possible. What would be one of your memorable examples of escaping your own personal limits?
First I would have told you was playing football, because in my family, I could graduate summa cum laude from Harvard and be one of many cousins that's done that. But I still think I'm the only cousin ever to play a college sport. And so that in my family was just an unbelievable limit that was put upon it. It was doctor, lawyer, or failure. There was no athleticism at all. But I will tell you that I have learned in a variety of different things that I've done in my life that people laugh at you, people scoff at you, people make fun of you, and then they applaud you. That every possibility with inspiration becomes a probability, and every probability with the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential and the desire that you must be what you can be becomes a perspective or a reality. And my biggest reality, one limitation that I had never thought, was that I was going to empower over 1 billion people and change the world to create a collective consciousness of happiness. And until I figured out that all I had to do is find 1,000 people like you to empower 1,000 people, to empower 1,000 people with the most viral virus of all time called happiness, the one that spreads simply by literally witnessing it. It strengthens us mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. It strengthens our immune system. Unbelievable. They made fun of me, told me I was Tony Robbins, Jesus Christ, what was I doing? And now people applaud me. And not only do they applaud me, they believe in me. And they believe that they can exceed that limitation to empower over 1 billion people to be happy and change the entire world with abundance and happiness. And you're part of that vision. And thank you so much for helping me prove that there are no limitations. You cannot out-ask the universe. And that's what this show is about.
Fantastic. David, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to meet face to face at some point. And
I sure hope so. I'm tired of this, man. I need a big hug and I need to meet people face to face.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be too far away. Thank you, David, so much for joining us on the episode today.
Thank you.